What sort of impact have you had in sheer numbers? Why do you think you're not going to get taken out? Because it seems to me that you're in a situation where that's, of reasonable high probability given who you're dealing with. And what do you hope to accomplish over the next while? And what can people do to help?
Well, so I've changed quite a bit of how I look at the playing field of human trafficking. I can no longer do operations. I've been in the media too much, especially with this film. I've turned a lot of my attention to the fact that in what I call spiritual warfare, children are targeted like never before. I was on the Capitol Hill last week, and this congressman was telling me, how do we wake people up to the fact that all these unaccompanied minors are being shoved into America and we don't know where they are? And I said, well, your problem is you're not connecting all the dots, all the ways in which children are being hurt. Not only these 85,000 missing children that are now in the belly of the largest potentially child sex market in the world. But at the same time that's happening, you have groups trying to get rid of the name pedophile and call them minor attracted persons. At the same time, you're sexualizing children, giving them what I used to be able to arrest you for giving children. Now teachers in California and other states are giving this in the name of liberating children sexually or sex education. And now a 13-year-old can consent to gender mutilation and have themselves injected with all sorts of chemicals that might ruin their reproductive system. Well, what are you doing? Consent to do that equals consent eventually to sex with a 50-year-old pedophile. And so if you got to connect all these things. And so I for the first time in my life, Jordan, I'm looking at the United States of America and I'm saying, look, I used to think I might be out of a job because we eradicated human trafficking. I am now thinking I might be out of a job because the very laws that protect children and allow us to go after their captors are being and will be decaying and eroded with this crazy culture that is taking children in the name of liberating them and in fact is enslaving them.
So, I interviewed this girl, Chloe Cole, who had a double mastectomy when she was 15 and who had puberty blockers and went through the whole bloody gamut of incompetent lying therapists and sadistic butchering surgeons. And they transformed her sexually. And then she talked to me about her dating experiences in high school. Now, you can just imagine this, it's complicated enough for a young man or a young woman in high school to navigate the sexual shoals, let's say, and establish a reasonable relationship or even a reasonable sequence of relationships if everything is roughly normal or something approximating ideal. But Chloe put herself way out on the fringes, having done what she did, and that took her out of the dating pool in high school for her compatriots. And so she turned to online dating. And you can imagine the sort of people who attempted to pick her up. And she didn't refer to that an awful lot in our interview, but she referred to it enough so that I got a real flavor of the sort of people who were more than perversely willing to strike up a relationship with her, often much older, as you've pointed out. And so, that freedom that she was hypothetically offered that only required the sacrifice of her breasts, let's say, the wounds of which, by the way, have never completely healed. So that's perfectly goddamn delightful. And, she talked about her descent into that perverse underworld of deviant sexual attraction. And so, there's not a lot of freedom on that front. Jim,